We are live. I would like first of all to welcome the audience of GMA Talk, and today we have a very special guest coming all the way live from Sana'a in Yemen, the UNHCR representative in Yemen, Jean-Nicolas Beuze. And I really thank him for the time he has allotted today to speak with us about the ongoing and challenges of war and conflict in Yemen and the displacement and refugees. So, welcome, Jean-Nicolas. How are you today?
Thank you very much, Gerard, and I'm very happy to be on your YouTube channel today, straight from the capital of Yemen, in Sana'a, where I arrived like 5 months ago from the capital of Canada, where I was posted before, as I was for 3 years in Ottawa.
Oh, wow. Seems like you really been a man, humanitarian in demand from Ottawa straight to Yemen. That is very noble work that seems you are doing on the ground. Congratulations on such amazing work. Uh,
Yeah, it's a change of settings, but it's often the same population. I mean, in Canada during my time, we were seeing people arriving irregularly from the U.S. border to claim asylum in Canada, in Quebec in particular, people from Haiti, but also from Africa. And actually, I had met a Yemeni couple in Quebec when I was there at the crossing in La Colle, in the famous Roxham Road. It was a Yemeni couple. The husband was a doctor and the wife was a pharmacist, and they had been able, through quite an adventure, been able to reach Canada, where they were going to claim asylum. And now that I'm in Yemen, I can assure you that, of course, I understand why they were claiming asylum in Canada, coming from Yemen, a country which has so many human rights violation of humanitarian law, where women in particular have very few opportunities to be respected, especially educated women like this lady. And I hope that and I'm sure that the Canadians welcome this couple.
Okay, well, sure. Well, thank you very much for giving that brief highlight, especially of the recent crossing in Quebec and the challenges also and the support which Canadians have been offering to refugees and asylum seekers alike. So, first of all, we want to start because the conflict of the war in Yemen, not many people know about it, or many people have forgotten about it. So to begin really this talk or conversation is like, since you're on the ground, like tell us what is really happening in Yemen and when did it start? What is happening?
You're very right, Gerard. It's one of the forgotten conflicts in the world. The conflict in Yemen started in 2015.
Okay.
And it's really one which is rooted in a long historical division within the country and different tribes who see the future of Yemen completely differently. To summarize, it's a conflict between the north and the south, the north being in the hands of the Houthi, a group which is based on Sharia law and pushing a certain ideological agenda. And the south, which is in the hand of the internationally recognized government, but supported by another party to the conflict, the Southern Transitional Council, which has recently split from the internationally recognized government. As a result, 5 years of conflict, the UN has labeled for 3 consecutive years Yemen as the worst humanitarian crisis, because 80% of the population requires humanitarian aid to survive on a daily basis.
Wow, so that's really like unheard of. Imagine like in a country, 80% of the population like requiring humanitarian support. So what are the challenges to these people in terms of what is happening as the conflict wages on?
So, for example, we have 1 out of 8 Yemeni who had to leave his or her own home due to the conflict. Either the home was destroyed or
Mm-hmm.
there was fighting and shelling within the villages or the neighborhood, in the neighborhoods of Aden, of Sana'a, the
Mm-hmm.
capital, of Udeida. And therefore, 1 out of 8 persons has lost their home. They
Wow.
end up being living in the open
Mm-hmm.
without any shelter. You know, the famous plastic sheeting tents that you see
Yep.
in many refugee
Mm-hmm.
situations. Um, Many of them have lost their job or their livelihood, whether they were farmers or shepherds
Mm-hmm.
or artisans. They have lost everything because they had to flee because of the conflict. 1 out of 8 people, it
Yeah.
makes Yemen the fourth largest displacement within a country in the
Wow.
world, just
Oh.
after Syria,
Mm-hmm.
Colombia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Wow, that's very crazy in terms of the challenges which is happening for the displacement and ongoing conflict. But as you know, we are in the ongoing pandemic of COVID-19 or coronavirus, as it might also be known. So when you already have a conflict on waging and people already needing humanitarian support and suffering and running from their homes, food and shelter and sanitation, then what is this current pandemic added to the challenges? Like, what are the added challenges that the pandemic has added to the ongoing already war situation?
So most of the people who have been fleeing the conflict live in sites which are very overcrowded. They
Mm.
live in makeshift tents where you cannot practice any physical distancing. So you
Wow.
cannot really curb the pattern of the spreading of the coronavirus because you
Mm-hmm.
cannot exercise 2 meters distance between you and another family.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely difficult for people to wash their hands. They don't have running water. Most of the
Wow.
Yemeni don't have access to running water. They need probably to go to a borehole to fetch water in those jerry cans and bring it back to their family. When you
Mm-hmm.
have so little waters, you may keep it for washing your vegetables and perhaps cooking a bit of rice or a bit of bread. But it's not easy for you to set aside a bit of water to wash your hands every hour, for example.
Wow.
For many of them, they fear reporting the symptoms of the coronavirus because half of the health facilities have been destroyed by the conflict. So it takes time, it takes money to go to a health center.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Yemen, we don't only have the coronavirus, but we have also many other communicable diseases: cholera, dengue fever,
Mm-hmm.
chikungunya, malaria, which
Mm-hmm.
all have the same symptoms as the coronavirus: high fever,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a bit of
Yeah.
coughing, maybe a bit of stomach ache or
Mm-hmm.
vomiting or diarrhea. And those are the symptoms that,
Wow.
unfortunately, the Yemeni live with and do
Mm-hmm.
not recognize necessarily as the coronavirus. In
Wow.
addition, we
Mm-hmm.
have to recognize that there is very few medical doctors and very few medicine, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore you will not necessarily to take the extra efforts to go to a health center if you
Mm-hmm.
know that you are not going to receive any medical treatment. But the situation is terrible now
Yeah.
because the Secretary General of the United Nations
Yeah.
indicated that Yemen has probably one of the highest death rate to coronavirus of the whole world.
Wow.
And
And this is
therefore,
something which the media or other levels of government they're not really talking about, because this is something which I'm hearing the first time from you. Yeah.
we have a lot of deaths to coronavirus or those compounding disease that I was mentioning,
Mm-hmm.
malaria, dengue fever and cholera, for example, which
Mm-hmm.
of course weaken the immune system. So when you have on top of that the coronavirus, people cannot really protect themselves.
Wow.
What we are doing is really trying to help people to change their behavior, to learn
Mm-hmm.
about washing hands, to
Yeah.
learn about reducing their movement. But when you are extremely poor and
Mm-hmm.
you rely perhaps on begging on the street
Yeah.
or on daily jobs at the market or in a warehouse to unpack trucks or as a fisherman, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot afford to stay home. What does that
Yeah.
mean? You stay home and you die because
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
won't be
That,
able to, you
that's so
don't
true.
have any savings at home to be able to keep your family safe for a week
Mm-hmm.
or a few months, like it is the case in Canada and elsewhere. So it's very
Yeah.
difficult for us to apply the same approach
Mm-hmm.
in the context of Yemen. And people don't understand and know that they
Yeah.
won't survive very long staying at
Mm-hmm.
home.
Wow, that's very detailed. Thank you very much for painting the picture because, beside the war and the pandemic of COVID-19, as you say, there's also other viruses and other challenges which the population has been facing. And this is something which the general public and the population, they don't really know about. But also with the challenges to the local population and the displacement, what is really surprising or what I can really seem to not understand, Yemen still home to thousands of refugees, like from elsewhere. So how is this possible? Like for if you say 80% of the population of Yemen is displaced and needing maybe humanitarian support, and at the same time, Yemen as a country still hosting like thousands of refugees. What are the adding challenges and what is the support that these refugees receive, and where are these refugees even coming from?
So this is really the tragedy of the 21st century. We are not realizing in the Western world that our countries like
Mm,
Canada, the US, or Europe are receiving only a fraction of the refugees in the world. We are
yeah.
not even receiving 15% of the refugees. It's
Wow.
really countries like Kenya, like
Mm-hmm.
Uganda, Cameroon, like Bangladesh,
Mm-hmm.
and like Yemen, that are receiving the majority of refugees. And
Wow.
I had the same surprise as you, Gerard, when I learned that 280,000, mainly Somali refugees,
Wow.
decided to come to Yemen in
Mm-hmm.
search of a safe haven.
Wow.
They make this choice
Mm-hmm.
because it's a choice to decide to leave their country. It takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of courage to become a refugee.
Mm-hmm.
They make those decisions knowing that the situation is going to be difficult in Yemen. They know that they will be abused by the trafficker and the smuggler. They
Wow.
know that they are going to a country where there's little food, there's little medical attention. They
Mm-hmm.
hope that UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, will be helping them, but we have less and less funding to help the refugees. But they decide that it is better for them to leave
Mm-hmm.
rather than being persecuted and subjected to harm, violation,
Mm-hmm.
abuse
Yeah.
in their home country. So the
Wow.
majority of the people who come as refugees to Yemen are from Somalia, but we have also people from Ethiopia, we
Mm-hmm.
have people from Syria, from Palestine, and so on
Wow.
and so forth.
Mm-hmm.